Alright, what's up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to make this DIY router table. This configuration, it's in a benchtop. Alright, so I cut this at 15 degrees. I'm going to put another cut here on the miter saw. I'm going to make 4 of those. I'm going to cut up some 2x4s just to give my structure some structure. And here's a quick look at how I quickly assembled the base. So I cut some pieces to fit the sides and the back, but only on the bottom. I left the front exposed and open to access the router easily. Alright, let's move on to the router top itself. So I'm using some plywood that's really not that level. I'm going to glue 2 pieces together here to give me some thickness. Alright, so now I need a big clamp. That ought to work. And now I'm going to cut this thing to its final width and trim up the edges. This is a 2x4 that I cut down to make edge banding, just to make it look a little better. Really didn't like the look of the exposed plywood on the edge. Here I used some white spray paint just to add a fade on the edge. I don't know if you can see here, but the top is not level, so I decided to use epoxy to self-level the top, which maybe over time the epoxy won't look the best with scratches, but it gives me truly a flat top. Boom, look at that shine. Let's move on to the router plate. Alright, so I got my pieces of trim just around this with carpet tape, and then obviously I used the green tape. The bit that I'm using is a 3/4 inch straight cut bit with a top bearing. I've got this plunge router set to go 1/4 inch deeper than all this, and it's actually just a hair over. I want this plate to sit down in just a little bit. So the router plate that I'm using is actually from Rockler. It's a Rockler Pro plate. It's 100% aluminum and it's pre-drilled for Type A, which is a router that has a triangle hole pattern for mounting that's 4 inches apart. The router I'm using is a DeWalt, only because of the plunge function here. I'm going to drill a hole just so I can get the jigsaw in here and finish cutting this out. This does not have to be perfect. No one's ever going to see it. This slot will be for the main front T-track. Some people prefer a miter track, however I decided I wanted a T-track in the front and also T-tracks on the back here. Here's a quick look at how I did that. So I'm drilling holes and I'm adding these 1/4-20 threaded inserts, and I'm using a bolt to pull them down in flush. And we'll just back that bolt out, and then I'm going to add a nylon bolt in each corner, and this will be my leveling device. Okay, so now let's put in the threaded inserts for the router faceplate itself to hold it in tight. I use a scraper here and a bolt, and then I put the insert into the bottom and I pull it up tight with the impact wrench. Just so the router faceplate has something to thread into to keep it tight. This is a T-track here. I actually cut this with my miter saw. And then I went ahead and rounded the end with a grinder. I did kind of countersink these holes here with the drill. And it all kind of comes together in this stop motion. That's cool. Yeah. Boom. Now we're going to throw some screws in those holes. Alright, let's move on to the fence. I've got 2 pieces of pine here, and I'm just going to drill a 2-inch hole. I will glue these together in an upright position, and then I'm drilling holes to add wooden dowels. I don't really want to use screws at this point. Alright, so for the fence, I want to put like a sacrificial fence face on. However, I am going to glue this on just to give this is pine, I want to give it more support, stability, so that over time maybe it doesn't warp. These are some wedges for the corners and the back, just for more support, I suppose, right? So I've made this fence entirely with wood and dowels. I have not used any metal fasteners, just so I can run it through the joiner here a few times and get a real true 90 on it. Now I'm going to cut the T-track slot on the fence. Alright, these little blocks here, these little wedges, this will be for my dust collection, which I'll show you in a second. Paint this black. Go ahead and screw that in. Yeah, there you go. Alright, this is a 2 1/4 inch hole saw bit. I've got a piece of wood cut at 45 on both sides. Alright, let's move on to the handles, the screw down handles. I'm using 2 pieces of oak here that I glued down. Just try to make a rough octagon, nothing perfect. I'm going to drill a really, really deep hole into these for the inserts and the toilet bolts. Yes, toilet bolts that I use. Those are 1/4 by 20 threaded brass inserts. Alright, there's that dust collection port that I made. We'll just screw that in. No glue here, just in case I want to change the size later. Doesn't matter, fits good. So I decided to use construction adhesive here to affix this. However, I don't think it's necessary. I'm using lag bolts. Drilled some holes, and I'm just going to run these in. Alright, let's go ahead and just stick that fence right on there and tighten it down. Awesome, looks pretty good, huh? Throw the router in. Oh, level it up. Yeah, those nylon bolts work pretty good underneath there. Boom, shiny. Alright, time for some safety. I'm going to make myself a plastic guard. This is plexiglass, drilling some holes there. Kind of got away from me. Now let's try that router out and actually use it. Turn these holes into slots.
and use the torch to gently heat this and bend it. This was actually really easy. Just rinse and repeat until you can bend it to a true 90. Let it cool, and then just go ahead and mount it up there, guys. Went ahead and just purchased those little wing nuts since they were small.
Alright, so at this point I could call this router table done. I've used it a couple times. I don't like reaching under here to turn this on and off. So I bought a start-stop button. This is the faceplate. I want to mount it somewhere around in here, but I don't have much to mount it onto. So I cut a piece of 2x4 with a 45 on one side, and I rounded over the bottom. I'm going to fasten this here, probably with the Craig screw and a couple screws on the side. Now I'm going to drill a hole roughly where the back hole on this box will be. I'll get that hole drilled and mount this up, and then I'll show you how to wire in the switch.
This is one of those little electrical wire conduit thingies. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
I mounted just a standard electrical box here, and I wired in a industrial outlet.
Bought this pre-wired plug. Because this is stranded wire, I'm going to add these little O-ring crimp connectors. Here's a quick look at the ground setup. I had to use a wire nut because I had stranded wire involved. So these wires, the black and the white, they'll go straight across the switch. You'll see here. Jam that thing in there. It's a little snug. This is a deep box, but it's a little bit snug. Remember, we are still upside down, so I'm going to go ahead and put the faceplate on, tighten that up, flip it over.
Okay, I flipped it back over, put the fence on. Switch is hooked up and the router's plugged into it. Let's check it out. Looks like it's working pretty good. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching.